This is Bumper to Bumper, the car show. Drive in anxious and cruise out confident. With the best automotive information for your vehicle. And now your hosts, Matt Allen and Dave Riccio.
Well, finally, I think winter is starting to settle in. Good morning. Welcome to Bumper Radio. I am Matt Allen. Along by my side here is Dave Riccio. And as always, Saturdays at 11, we are your KTAR car guys, helping you with your car. Whether you've got a problem, maybe your car's telling you something this morning, it's acting a little bit different because it's a little chilly outside. Maybe your car's got the flu. I don't know. Is there a flu shot, Dave?
There definitely is flu car.
There's a flu. Sometimes they're sick. Sometimes they're dying. But don't always have to let that happen. So, again, we're always here to help you out. And if you have a question about your car, you want to have us help you with your car, all you have to do is give us a call, and you do that by dialing 602-277-5827. It's 602-277-KTAR. If you'd like to text, you can do that at 411-923. So it's a little chillier this morning. I mean, I think this weather has been teasing us. And I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, Dave, we came in here and we're like, well, it's getting cold. We're going to talk about some things you might see with your car, right? And then what happened?
Got warm.
It's not cold yet. Well, then we had
a tease, winter tease.
A tease for sure. So, we talked about some of the things that are going to start happening to your car potentially when it gets cold. You might get the tire pressure light coming on. You probably had that. You park in the garage, or maybe you don't have a garage and you got your tire pressure set or they're a little low. Well, when the temperature drops 40 degrees, what happens? The tire pressure is going to go down. So you might have that tire pressure light on, check engine lights come on. We've talked about all these things, so we're going to start breaking them down a little bit. We'll start with the transmission today. People are probably experiencing symptoms with their car, Dave, because of the cold weather. And what happens? It exposes potential problems or new symptoms that you don't have when it's warm out.
Yeah, definitely. Transmissions are very much affected by temperature, and people don't realize it. This time of year, we talk about morning sickness, transmission morning sickness. You get in your car, you start it up, you put it in gear, and nothing happens. You sit there and it warms up for a second, maybe you rev it up a little bit, then it starts moving. Well, that's a very common phone call that we get this time of year. And when you get that first cold snap, that's when that phone call really shows up. But even if it's cooling down, the car's starting to misbehave a little bit. And that can be for different reasons, but the most common reason is the transmission's a little bit low on fluid. So transmission fluid expands and contracts with temperature. So that's why if you've ever looked at a dipstick, they hardly put dipsticks in cars anymore. But when you did, there was a hot level, okay, because you checked your transmission fluid when it was hot. So if it was cold and it was a little lower than that, you're like, okay, I'm okay. But now you don't even have that access.
But now you talked about temperature definitely affecting the transmission, and for sure in the summertime, the high temperature, the heat, is the killer of the transmission, right? That's when you really, you can toast that thing.
That's when the damage is done sometimes, and then when you get around to wintertime, it doesn't really show up until wintertime. So a transmission is a hydraulic machine, so there's all kinds of seals and passages and compartments and gaskets and things in there. And so what happens is there's internal hydraulic leaks. So that isn't leaks that necessarily show up on the ground or in your driveway, but they're hydraulic leaks within the machine of the transmission. And so when
it's like internal bleeding. Maybe if you've probably heard that at the doctor's office or seen the whatever the show is, ER, or I don't on TV, you heard internal bleeding. But I guess that would be the closest way to relate.
Same thing, yeah. So there's nothing on the driveway, but it's not working right, and it's just a matter of it leaking internally. Mm-hmm. There's some amount of hydraulic leak that happens anyway, but it just becomes more because that molecule of transmission fluid is now smaller. So if there was a little hole there,
breaking down the science,
molecular.
We're
I don't know what the word means, but I can use it. I've heard it once or twice.
Right?
I watch Discovery Channel.
So now my transmission in my truck is a little funny. I have noticed some. I believe in the neighborhood the other day, I actually barked second gear a little bit. I had to get out in traffic, and it was cold, and that thing, scratched second gear. And I don't know if that's really a problem in the making. I might have to get it over for you guys to take a look at it. That might have just been a perfect storm of right throttle pressure, and the car's still a little bit cold, but who knows? So you said one of the things that maybe it whines a little bit, or the car. So one symptom of a problem that the cold is going to show you, put it in gear and it just simply doesn't move, or delayed engagement, we might have to call it 2 or 3 seconds. If that symptom then goes away when it's warm, is it making other damage into the transmission? Or I mean, we know it doesn't fix itself. But I guess if it really shows cold, maybe when it's hot, you're only getting, I'm just going to make up a percentage. Maybe you're getting only 15% of the hydraulic leak, where when it's cold, and I don't know if I'm saying this right, you might get 70% leakage. That's why you really notice the symptom. But if just a little bit's bleeding by, you may never feel that, but it's in the background, it's working on causing a problem. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, what you don't want to do is if you run a transmission a little low on fluid, like a little low being a quart and a half, 2 quarts, somewhere in there, you can actually damage a transmission because it's not complete apply to the clutch, so it's slipping the clutch a little bit where you wouldn't normally have that. Sometimes you'll see a transmission like you'll be going down the road and the transmission cooler line erupts and all the fluid goes out of it. Generally doesn't damage a transmission because it happens so quickly that it just quit moving and there was no shearing, the clutches. And then, but that slow, just being a little bit low on fluid, you don't want to ignore it. Some people will ignore that situation.
It only does it when it's cold, so I don't need to worry about it because it's only cold for a couple minutes. Well,
don't take a small problem and make it huge because you ignored it. The other symptom that comes up when it's cold, you'll go around a corner. You turn a corner, and that fluid will slosh in the transmission pan over to one side. And then the transmission will take a gulp of air, and it'll neutral out for a second, and then it'll engage back into gear. That's another low fluid symptom. So there's a couple times, or even when you put the car in reverse and you back up a little bit, and then you throw it into drive to go forward, well, what happens is, again, that fluid sloshes in the pan.
Or a steep driveway, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
It's cold, and it just can't pick up enough fluid.
And a little bit of noise. We talked about noise last week with the power steering fluid when it's low. When the power steering fluid is low, you get a little bit of cavitation because the pump's it's getting starved for fluid. Yeah. Same thing with the transmission pump. They almost sound the same way. Is that they're, when they're a little low, there's a little bit of buzzing coming out from the transmission.
And people say, and I've had the look from a customer at my shop before, and you've probably had it more than I have. We talked about checking the transmission fluid, and there's dipsticks to check the transmission fluid. And hell, I would argue that, and it's not because of incompetence or anything, those transmission dipsticks are hard to read sometimes.
Very hard to read.
You put them in 3 or 4 times, and they come out, and they're different. But now, I mean, you check a transmission fluid hot or cold is what we say, right, before? Right. Now it's got to be like 177 degrees. And if you miss that window, you're screwed. You can't, we get them in the shop, and can you check my transmission fluid? It's too warm. We got to put a swamp cooler in front of it. We got to do, and if it's a minor, if it's big time low, it doesn't, maybe you don't have to be an exact temperature to determine that it's low. But if you're talking about a small problem, you got to have that fluid level in that right window.
Well, transmissions are different. They don't burn fluid per se. Like your engine, you could burn some engine oil. So your engine consume it. It's going away. Transmissions don't do that. So if it's low on fluid, it's leaking somewhere. Or perhaps the person who serviced it last in the summertime, you might not see a leak in your driveway, but maybe you got an insufficient transmission service. It's a moving target, Matt, and I would argue that an inexperienced technician could, by accident, leave a transmission low. Well, you don't know there's a problem until you get to December, and all of a sudden you're like, it's doing just what he's talking about. I go around corners and my car does weird things.
Right. Now, I think some people also avoid coming in. It's like maybe you don't want to go to the dentist. You're like, I'm going to have to deal with that crown or that, I'm just going to put it off. So I think most people think that if they go to a transmission shop and describe a transmission, they're going to get a transmission problem. They're going to leave with the transmission. It's like you go to the surgeon. Yeah, usually they get you into surgery.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't always need it. So if you had to make up some numbers, and you probably know them pretty close, how many times has a transmission, somebody actually comes in and says, I have a transmission problem. How often is it really not the transmission? And when it is something with, that is a drivability problem related to the transmission, whether it's a transmission computer or the transmission, how many of those require an overhaul?
30%. It's pretty low. So the phone call always starts out like this. My transmission's slipping. How much for a transmission? Well, let's check it out. I just need the worst case. Let me know. Let me just accept it so I can move on and make my decisions. And we say, no, we're not going to give you a price because you probably don't need one. You got a 70% chance that you don't need a transmission. They bring it in, we run it through, we find an electrical problem or we find a fluid level problem. Fluid level is a big deal, and we get people that are certain they need a transmission because it's low on fluid. I mean, that happens all the time. And the other one that cracks me up is the guy that's got the Dodge truck. He says, I checked the fluid this morning. And it was fine, and you're telling me it's low. I said, sir, did you read the dipstick? It says check in neutral. No, I didn't do that. That's a 2-quart window on the dipstick, so it was low on fluid.
Right. So I guess what I'm trying to say is don't ignore it because you think it's going to be expensive, because it may not. But also, when you're picking your transmission shop, you need do a little bit of homework. Look at the Better Business Bureau website. There's lots of them out there, and there's lots of transmission shops that you're going to go to. And if you say you have a transmission problem, guess what? You're getting a transmission, period. And I bet in some shops, 9 out of 10 that present for a, quote, transmission issue get a transmission. In the contrary, you're a 3 out of 10. What other?
We had a. This is funny because people don't realize how complex these things are. But we had a Corvette in our shop, and this person was convinced they needed a transmission. Well, guess what? They had a bad battery. Mm-hmm. So the adaptations, the learned values in the computer for that transmission were getting the battery was weak. So when you go to start the car, the voltage would drop, below 9.5 volts. It'd lose that memory, and boom, the transmission doesn't work right. And it would happen every other day, and it was weird. And so they're ready to buy a transmission somewhere. We said, let's take a look at it. We took a look at it. The battery was the source of the problem. So when we're diagnosing transmission problem or any problem for that matter, the car has to have a good battery. So that's the first thing we do and test. And even if it's on the cusp, we say, you know what? It's not worth your time and effort to damage something on the car. Put a good battery in it. So we carry interstate batteries. And we have for years because everyone knows them. Everyone can check them.
Well, just like the name says, interstate batteries. What's the nation connected by interstate? So it's from coast to coast, the east to the west, north to the south. All you have to do, if you've got a interstate battery in your car and you're having a problem, interstatebatteries.com. They're going to take you. They're going to lead you to somebody that will take care of you. And, of course, locally here, everybody seems to have them, as well as many of the shops you'll find on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Anyhow, when we come back, we've got Rob in Mesa with a 2013 Toyota Sienna and open lines at 602-277-5827. You're listening to Matt and Dave, your KTAR Car Guys on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
There's nothing more important than family. Hi, Kurt Rock for Kurt's Auto Repair. Family owned and operated and bumper-to-bumper radio preferred. We've been taking care of Valley families and their auto care needs with a perfect Better Business record for over 27 years. Come experience the difference our ASE Master Techs can make for you and your family at Kurt's Auto Repair. Just east of I-17 at 22nd Avenue and Bell Road, or online at mycarhurts.com. Gas or diesel, foreign or domestic. If your car hurts, take it to Kurt's.
Ho, 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 and happy holidays!
Bunker to Bunker, the golf show, invites you to celebrate the season at our annual Toys for Tots 2-person scramble tournament at the Trilogy Golf Club at Vistancia. Join us Saturday, December 16th for golf, prizes, barbecue lunch, and after party. All for just $89 when you bring an unwrapped toy for the kids. Remember, bring a toy and Santa stuffs your stocking with a coupon for another round of golf. Space is limited, so don't miss out on our last event of the year. Register today at bunkergolf.com.
Have a holly jolly Christmas. It's the best time of the year. I don't know if there'll be snow.
Matt, I was at a Christmas party last night, and our friend Christina put it on, and she put so much effort into this. We had like a bake-off, so she had all these cookie trays set up, and whoever got the cookies done first.
Whoever got baked, they ate all
the
cookies.
Exactly. There was awards.
All baked the cookies.
Yes.
What? How'd that go?
We all got baked. So, there was awards for the most spirited, which my wife won. And then there was awards for the most Grinchful, which I won because I fell asleep.
Wait a minute, so you guys actually made the cookies, right?
We made cookies, yeah. But there was all kinds. There was we did musical chairs. I haven't done that in a long time, and that was fun. Baked cookies. What else did we do? We did this major trivia thing, and all the prizes were like gift cards, So I got all these like $10 at Starbucks, $25 to Chipotle.
Chipotle.
So it was good, but they say opposite attracts. So my wife was the most spirited, and I was the most grinchful.
You're the dud.
I was the dud of
Every
the
party
party.
needs a pooper. That's why we invited you.
That's right. Exactly. So
Transmissions. I mean, we've been talking the last couple of weeks about what symptoms or problems your car might experience or you might notice with a change in weather. And of course, 3 weeks ago we started talking about this, and it still hasn't got cold. Winter might.
It's true.
The old man winter might be here. So, whiny noises, check engine lights sometimes.
The other one that shows up is that this is typically, I hear it on Toyotas a lot, but your car is designed to be brought up to operating temperature as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. So what they do when it's cold like this is instead of the car shifting up right away and the torque converter locking up like it normally would, they hold the shifts longer, and so it feels like your car isn't shifting. And so, man, by the time I get out of the neighborhood, it sounds like my car is roaring, Mm-hmm. And so they think something's wrong. So we get a lot of false alarms. It is worth checking it out, versus ignoring a problem.
So what you're saying? I'm not sure if everybody picked up on that, Dave, but the manufacturers for emissions school, we got to get this car hot as fast as we can. I thought you were going somewhere else with a thermostat issue or something.
Oh, yeah.
But another way to get the car warmed up is, the harder you work or the higher the RPMs. Now, you don't want to be out just laying into this cold car. But so what you're saying is the manufacturer says, hey, here's a way when it's really cold, we're just going to keep this sucker in second gear, not let it get to third, either to a certain speed range or the car reaches a temperature. And that was something I was going to mention earlier. There's a transmission temperature sensor that the computer relies on to help make decisions on when to shift the car. That could simply be bad, and so it may be in range from 80 degrees to 230. Mm-hmm. But when you get it down in the, maybe the 40-degree range or in the 50s, it might be reading -20, or it might be reading still 100 degrees. And computers are garbage in, garbage out. So if the sensor's relying and giving bad data, the computer can't make good decisions, right?
Absolutely. So this is the deal. So you can think you have a transmission problem, and that's why people, they're scared. It's like, I joke, it's like selling coffins. No one wants one, but everyone gets one at some point, because I do sell transmissions, and people sometimes are surprised their transmission went out. They're like, I can't believe it went out. I said, well, we are in business fixing transmissions because they do go out, right. But not as much as people think that they do. They're built pretty well. They last a long. We don't see cars come in on tow trucks anymore. We see people show up, and my car does this little skippity-skip thing every now and then, and there are these little intermittent issues that are oftentimes electrical, or they need a valve body issue or some sort of fix like that.
In 2020, and I'd say even 25 years ago, there was only 7 or 8 transmissions. There was more than that.
There's not that many.
So the guy that was fixing transmission 40 years ago, he probably is a little bit lost as he haven't caught up to time. Or that guy at the water cooler, or I hate to say it, your dad who knows everything about cars that are 60 years old, might have some not necessarily the good advice on the transmission because they are different. There's so much more electronics and stuff involved. But I think we need to get to a phone maybe, Dave.
Let's go with Rob in Mesa. He's got a 2013 Toyota Sienna. How can we help you, Rob? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Yeah, I got 2 questions, one transmission related and one not. The transmission one is the Sienna I have, from what I can tell, it has a sealed transmission. There's almost no information in the owner's manual about the transmission. And so what do you guys recommend in terms of maintaining that, fluid levels and things like that without really being able to know anything about it?
Well, the sealed transmission myth, it's like a unicorn. I haven't seen one yet. So everyone who's listening, pay attention. You don't have a sealed transmission. Trust me, you don't. But they've taken away the dipstick on these things, and they made it more difficult for the average person to service a transmission or look at the transmission. And so
it's because the tolerances are so much, there's less margin of error.
Yeah, for sure. And so you're going to go to some shops that don't want to mess with it. Guess what they tell you? It's a sealed transmission. You don't mess with it. That's someone who doesn't want to do it and doesn't necessarily know how a transmission works. Just because it says technician on your shirt, if you haven't taken one apart, you don't really know how they work. So on your Sienna, you should be servicing that transmission every 50,000 miles. And it's not necessarily going to be covered in the owner's manual, okay? But I'm working on transmissions out of Toyota Siennas that aren't even to 100,000 miles yet and aren't even to the first service recommendation for that transmission. So there's a little bit of bogusness in, do you take care of it or don't you?
We haven't talked about that as much recently, but there's the marketing side and there's the reality side. But Rob, you had a second question not related to the transmission.
Yeah, same car. I'm getting kind of a buzzing, scratching sound from behind the dashboard, and it's on whether the air conditioning's on or not, and it kind of continues for a second or two after I turn the car off. And I was kind of thinking it was maybe the actuator door for the air conditioning, but I'm just kind of trying to diagnose and figure out what that might be.
Now, you said air conditioning. Are you talking about blower operation? So does it make the same noise with the heat on, or just physically when you've got it on cold air?
Yeah, it makes the same noise whether it's blowing or not, and whether it's hot or cold, or otherwise switch it back and forth from hot or cold, and it's switching fine from hot or cold, and it's switching from mode from, high to low to,
right.
Both kind of thing to defroster.
And that noise happens constantly? Even, if the AC is 100% off, no fan, no activity, it's just constantly making the noise?
Yeah, it's constantly making noise, and it continues for maybe a second or two after I turn off the car.
Well, on something like that, it doesn't. If all the functions, if you've gone through and tested the AC to the extent that the functionality is all there, I think that's one of those things where, we might be able to go in there with a scan tool, a good scan tool, and find out if there's some kind of code or failure in a body control module or some kind of control system. But other than that, Dave, what do you think? I'd just be underneath feeling and finding out what it is.
I was thinking maybe there's a rodent in the dash or something like that. He said scratching noise, something scratching. But I'm thinking it's some sort of electrical component that's buzzing.
Yeah.
And it's you shut the car off and it's still, it takes a second for all the power to run out of it. But I'm trying to think what would make a scratching noise.
Yeah, well, it's we're going to have to make that noise. So you have this, we're going to get this on camera, get the audio and the whole. You just need to, I would just feel around, find out what it is, maybe find a part number, and then find out what the component is, and then go from there.
Thanks for the call, Rob. When we come back, we're taking more phone calls at 602-277-5827. The thing about looking under dashboards, Matt, I've hurt my neck so many times because I get my butt on the seat and my legs up on the top over the headrest and my head up underneath the dashboard. And so, I'm a chiropractor's best friend after working on your dashboard. So anyhow, when we come back, we're taking more phone calls at 602-277-5827 and your text at 411-923.
Having an accident is stressful. Dealing with the repair process shouldn't be. Hi, Leo Petrozzella for Campus Body Salon. The right to choose a repair facility is yours, not the insurance companies. We work with all insurance companies, but we work for you. Campus Body Salon, bumper-to-bumper radio approved and independently family-owned and operated since 1973. Check out our Cash for Your Crash program where we pay you 10% off of your repair up to $1,000. Campus Body Salon, the best care in collision repair.
Hi, I'm Dave Riccio, owner of Tri-City Transmission. Well, you may have come to know us for being a transmission expert. What you may not know is that our customers regularly ask us why we don't perform repairs to the rest of the vehicle. You guys are so great. Why work on just the transmission? Well, the requests became hard to ignore, and 3 years ago, we began to build an infrastructure to perform general automotive repair. We weren't going to do general repair if we couldn't be great at it. So in 2013, we began the soft opening of Tri-City Auto Repair on Smith Road. We brought on ASE Master Technicians to work side by side with our Master Transmission Technicians. The combination of the best in both of these trades has created a synergy that allows us not only to fix your transmission, but to service and repair your whole car, and to do it well. Let's face it, the modern car has become so integrated. We believe all of our expert knowledge puts us ahead of the curve. Find us at TriCityTransmission.com or TempeAutoRepairShop.com. That's TempeAutoRepairShop.com.
It sounds like they've just had the accurate automotive experience. We're family-owned and operated and have served the Mesa, Tempe, Gilbert communities for over 22 years. We focus on building long-lasting relationships and, listening to you so that we can understand, meet, and exceed your expectations. One location, 14 bays, 88 years of automotive expertise, and a passionate commitment to customer service and excellence. My name is Lee Weatherby, and I approve this message because it's true. We love what we do, and we want to do it for you. Accurate Automotive, the home of friends serving friends.
Arizona's news station. KTAR. On air, 92.3 FM. Online at KTAR.com. And streaming live on the KTAR News app. Your breaking news and traffic. Now.
It's 11:30. I'm Tom Perumian. Here's our top story. President Trump calling for merit, not family-based immigration policy in his weekly radio address, blaming two programs for recent New York City terror attacks and calling on Congress to discontinue them.
This process begins with Congress passing a bill to end chain migration and also end the visa lottery. I have called on Congress to do exactly that.
President Trump noted this week's Port Authority attempted bombing and the Halloween truck attacker as people who came to the United States under examples of chain migration. The government posting a seventh straight monthly increase in people being arrested or denied entry along the Mexican border, erasing much of the early gains of President Donald Trump's push to strengthen border security. Customs and Border Protection saying Friday denials of entry at official crossings and border arrests reached more than 39,000 in November. That's more than double the nearly 16,000 registered in April. Now we get a check on traffic. Here's Mike Daniels in the KTAR Traffic Center.
Well, thank you, Tom. That crash that was blocking the HOV lane on the 60 eastbound at Mesa Drive has been moved off left right to the center divider. Tow truck is on scene. Looks like they'll have this wrapped up any minute now. And we got a crash at 36th Street and Thomas to watch out for. This report brought to you by Inspire Sleep Therapy. Inspire Therapy is here to treat obstructive sleep apnea, the freedom to sleep like everyone else. Visit InspireSleep.com to learn more about Inspire Therapy today. That's InspireSleep.com. I'm Mike Daniels, KTAR News.
Cloudy and cool today through tomorrow. 65 the expected high today. 63 on Sunday. We'll see the overnight lows dipping into the low to mid 40s. Right now 57 degrees in Goodyear. Weather brought to you by Howard Air. I'm Tom Perumian on Arizona's news station, KTAR News.
Whether you're a lifelong dirt road driving, tackle box toting weekend warrior or an outdoor lifestyle rookie, from the desert to the mountains of our great state, Mike Russell has the outdoors in Arizona covered. This afternoon at 1 with Get Outdoors. Only on KTAR News 92.3 FM and streaming live on the KTAR News app.
Trust. It's hard to earn and sometimes even harder to find. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is celebrating over 20 years of award-winning service at the corner of 7th Street and Virginia. Recognized as one of the best service shops in the country, their customers have come to trust Virginia Auto Service for its A+ rating by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranties, and free transportation to and from your home or office. 20+ years of earning your trust. Virginia Auto Service. They're serious about service.
Ho, 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 and happy holidays!
Bunker to Bunker, the golf show, invites you to celebrate the season at our annual Toys for Tots two-person scramble tournament at the Trilogy Golf Club at Vistancia. Join us Saturday, December 16th for golf, prizes, barbecue lunch, and after party. All for just $89 when you bring an unwrapped toy for the kids. Remember, bring a toy and Santa stuffs your stocking with a coupon for another round of golf. Space is limited, so don't miss out on our last event of the year. Register today at bunkergolf.com. Here's what Carrie from Tempe had to say about her experience with Good Works Auto Repair.
As soon as you realize, I need to get some work done on my car, I'm sure the thought occurs to you that you're about to get taken for a ride. I used to share the same sentiment and wondered if the shop was going to make something up and have me spending hundreds of dollars instead of $30 I was planning on for a simple oil change. This is one of the reasons I will only go to Good Works Auto Repair. Because I trust them. Putting trust in an auto shop didn't come easily. It's been built over several visits with them doing exactly what was needed, not coercing me into unnecessary work. Ask them for an oil change and a safety inspection, they do just that. No baloney, list of filters, belts, and whatchamacallits that need replacing on my new car. Thank you, Good Works Auto Repair, for being there for me when I need you.
Appreciate the kind words. It's always a pleasure. Glenn Hayward here. Come experience what award-winning auto service should be. Good Works Auto Repair in Tempe, or visit us at goodworksautorepair.com.
This is Bumper to Bumper Radio, KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio during the Christmas season. You know, at some point, maybe next week, we'll have the top 10 Christmas gifts for the auto mechanic in your life. You know, this is a good time to be taking care of the auto mechanic in your life. I only say that because I'm an auto mechanic and I want care.
Speaking of which, by the time we do that next weekend, that's going to be for all the last-minute Larrys like
yeah,
myself
that's right. That's right.
That are freaking out. But yeah, we could probably come up with some gifts.
Maybe we can put it up on our website maybe this week. You know, bumper-to-bumperradio.com. Yeah. I'm going to be too busy doing my Christmas shopping.
Shooting for the stars, aren't you, Dave? Shooting for the stars. Hey, but you can maybe we'll put it on Facebook. And speaking of Facebook, if you go to bumper-to-bumperradio.com, you'll find a Facebook link. And Dave and I enjoy having a couple more friends.
Yes, we need friends.
So like us there. Occasionally we put some stuff out. You might be able to ask a question, similar to the texting and stuff. We may not answer. Use it for a show topic later. But the other thing you can find at bumper-to-bumperradio.com is a podcast of shows, all the shows. So maybe you're having a problem and it's Tuesday night. You want to learn a little bit about it, just go search, and you can find it that way, maybe learn something. And if you have a question during the week, call one of the shops that you find at bumper-to-bumperradio.com. Like,
automotive diagnostic specialties, those guys are great. That's just one of the shops you're going to find at bumper-to-bumperradio.com. But if you're in the Chandler area, and you know what? You don't even have to be in the Chandler area. If you want to go to a great shop, you can go see those guys. Chandler Boulevard and I-10, basically, and it's a fantastic shop. Every time I go over to see Greg's shop, Greg, if there's a gadget or a widget or something he can buy that makes fixing cars even any better, I go over there, I get tool envy.
Right.
He's got so many tools.
It's just, that's one of the nicest shops around, really.
Shop envy.
And what makes it one of the nice shops is they're very capable. Whether it's just working on whatever car you look around the intersection where you're sitting right now, fix any of those, but they can really, if you've got one of those trick hot rods or
if you got a minivan you want to fix, or you got one of those sand rails that costs $1 bazillion, they can fix either of those. You got the antique, the 57 Cadillac, whatever you got.
But don't let all these hot rods and stuff scare you away from just the normal car, because they're just normal dudes fixing normal stuff, but they have an extreme talent as well. And Dave, I think there's a phone call or two maybe. Someone wants to ask you something.
Oh, yeah. We got Jim, we got Matt, we got Jan, we got Dave, we got Larry. And we're going to go with Matt in Scottsdale. He's got a 2004 Honda Accord. How can we help you, Matt? You are on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Thank you so much for taking my call. I love the show.
Thank you.
So with the changing season, it got cold out finally. And my Accord has got this really loud whining sounds, and I'm pretty sure it's the power steering. When you accelerate, obviously more RPMs and all the serpentine belts spinning around, and the power steering is just screaming. It sounds like a dying cat inside the engine.
Make sure there's not a dying cat in there first. That happens.
They camp under the hood to stay warm.
Yeah. I'm a pretty hands-on guy. I'll do my own brakes, that kind of stuff, basic stuff, but this one I can't figure out unless it's, a sign of the power steering module going out. If you guys can help, that would be awesome.
I guess you kind of need to separate the noise, to isolate the noise. I mean, one way we might think about doing that, I mean, if you're pretty handy and you think you're in the right area, I think on the Accord you would be able to differentiate a transmission noise versus a power steering noise more likely.
Yeah, and it happens more so when you're steering in a turn.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Now, does your car, if you look at the power steering pump that's mounted high up on that car, is it wet or moist around there? Is there any leaks? And how's the fluid level?
Fluid level is fine, and I can't see any leaks.
Is this the one where the reservoir is up on the fender, and then there's a hose that feeds into the pump?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's an O-ring right there. O-ring right there at the inlet that likes to leak and cause them to buzz. That's a possibility.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because usually you would see, you'd see a little bit of leakage there. And a lot of those Honda power steering pumps, people replace them unnecessarily a lot.
Oh, yeah.
You can slam a front seal in there and O-ring pretty quick if there's a leak. But if the system is totally sealed, it's not low on fluid. Now, you could have it, Dave, we've talked in the past about low on fluid, but I don't see any leaks. Well, the power steering rack and pinion unit could be holding, if there's some bellows or accordion boots that keep dust out, those could be full of oil if the fluid level was low and you wouldn't see it on the ground. But, you could try servicing the power steering. That's difficult to do at home. I mean, a Honda takes not special fluid. You just have to use Honda fluid. So you get turkey baster, all kinds of fluid out there and suck it out. As long as you can know it's not sucking air, there's no leaks, it's not low in fluids. You could simply have a worn-out pump.
This is one of those where, you see the rookie mistake in the auto shop. So comes in, it's whining. He says, needs a power steering pump. So sells the customer a power steering pump. Put it on. It's still whining. Calls him back. Looks like the power steering pump we got's bad too. So we're going to put another one in there. They put another one in there. And that doesn't work out. They say, you know what, it's not the pump after all, or maybe it is the pump, and it's also the rack and pinion. So they put a rack and pinion in there. And there's a senior tech on the other end of the shop with his hands in his face, and he's like, oh, my gosh. What's going on? So he lets the young guy struggle with it for a while. He finally walks over there with a big screwdriver, takes the cap off the reservoir, which is mounted on the fender, sticks it in there, and hits it on the end of the screwdriver, and bangs a hole in that screen in there because the screen is restricted.
Yeah.
So and then you don't have the restriction to the pump, and he's fixed it right there. And it's not really fixed. There's a reason there's garbage in the system.
Right.
But it's just it's one of those things that people can overlook. I know it happens all the time on Hyundais.
Yeah, Toyotas are the one, Lexus, that have the filter, and it's a common enough problem because when you go in the catalog and you look up the power steering rack and pinion, there's a big giant warning, all these triangles and exclamation points, warning, warning, warning. Check the power steering fluid reservoir, because I bet hundreds of those have been sent back as defective.
And there was nothing wrong with
that weren't. So yeah, I mean, before you just go and jump in and start selling stuff, we might say, well, we're going to drain all the transmission or drain all the power steering fluid out and just look.
Right.
See what that screen looks like. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't have one.
Well, yeah. I mean, a plugged-up filter in a transmission does the same thing. Yeah. It goes, makes a noise. And the noise is going to be louder. It's just a restriction of fluid to the pump. So the pump is cavitating.
And I did hear 200 and some odd thousand miles on that. It very well could just be a pump.
Yeah.
But you know what, too? Be careful. You're the do-it-yourselfer guy. That's cool. A lot of the do-it-yourself places sell parts that are horrible. I can't name suppliers, but, I mean, in some of these people, you're going to find that horrible part. It's at AutoZone. It's at Checker. It's at Napa. They all carry it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But as a professional, most of us wouldn't install it. So
sometimes you can build in problems to cars by using crummy parts. I mean, problems you didn't have.
I don't know that. I might just look at getting a Honda remanufactured one for that. It's as a possibility. It's hard to say. But
cool.
Or take it to a shop and let them own it.
Thanks for the call, Matt. 602-277-5827. We're going to go with Jim in Phoenix. He's got an 05 Dodge Dakota. How can we help you, Jim, on your Dakota?
Hey, I was calling about the previous caller that said he had the buzz under his dash when he turned the key on.
Oh, yeah.
I've got the same thing. I'm not sure when it started, but so 2005, I think it was my first battery change that all of a sudden I noticed that if you turn the key and not hit the kill switch, it just would buzz for about 2 or 3 seconds. And then I hit the kill switch and hit it, and it starts right up. But if you hit the kill switch and start it right up, it still buzzes for that small amount of time. But it's been doing it for so long, and it hasn't given me any problems. And I've had service done and everything, and nobody's been able to find anything. So I don't know if that'll, ease his mind a little bit.
Well, Jim, you're one of those guys, I think, that can fix a noise with a radio,
Right?
You can tune it out. You can just turn up KTAR even louder, and you're good to go.
Sometimes it's, how loud's the noise? So how can you turn the radio up to get rid of it? I mean,
that's like one of those things. By the way, don't do that. Bad.
And the other thing too, and this happens. This is a lot of the water cooler talk and stuff, and we get the. You might call a customer and they've got a Toyota, and you tell them something. My friend had the same problem, and it wasn't that. What kind of car do they have? Oh, they've got a Dodge. These are two totally different creatures. Not very much of the same DNA. I mean, they have round black tires.
Both take gas,
and they both use fuel. But so don't think just because my Hyundai or my Toyota and my friend had that kind of car, they're different. So just watch your advice.
Yeah, the same thing is true with transmissions. Because, I mean, we see there's so much, and one of the things that people don't understand, we'll get back to the phone call here in just a second, but if you took a technician out of a shop from 25 years ago, put him in the DeLorean, and carried him to today and said, all right, go over to that Mercedes over there and do the rear brakes, he couldn't do them.
No,
He can't disengage the brakes because you got to get a scanner out and you got to plug into it and you got to do all that stuff.
I'll take that a step further.
He will get lost.
I'll take it a step further. You could take a good mechanic, maybe that's got 3 to 5 years experience. Pretty, at that point, you're working the shop, you've been through the school, you've been in the training, you've had some hands-on experience, and you're in, they're good. A good guy's good by then, right?
Mm-hmm.
You put him in that time machine and drive him back 30 years, he can't fix that car.
That's true, too. Dwell, points, condenser?
What is that?
What is that? What is that big box you got over there on wheels? What does that thing do?
What's that big thing with the fuel line, with that gas line going into it? How's that? That's a funny-looking fuel injector on
It's
top
true.
there.
It's true, It's kind of like I never really had to learn a ton about carburetors. I mean, when I was young, I could take them apart and put them back together, and I called it a rebuild. But I never really had to work on them that much because I was, fuel injection was coming in. It was so much easier to me versus trying to the old carburetor.
I can rebuild carburetors. I used to.
I have. I wasn't a whiz at it. I was young. So, anyhow, let's go with. We're going to go with. It's cut off here in my seeing. Larry Black Canyon. He's got an 05 Chevy Astro van.
We are taking Larry. He turned a different direction.
I did
than I
turn
was
it. You know what?
turning.
I didn't realize the time.
That's all right though. It's Larry's turn now. Larry in Black Canyon. What's happening?
Okay, I got a 2005 Chevy Astro van, and I went because I had that check engine light on and the brake light and the ABS light. And they plugged into it. Okay, the first one is when I start my car up in the morning, it runs very smooth. As soon as it starts warming up, it starts, running rough.
Sure. What were the codes that they gave you?
The one was for the mass airflow sensor that's right behind the air filter going into the engine, towards the engine, that big one. And the other one was for front left and right wheel speed sensors.
Yep. A couple of those are pretty easy, and you've got to be careful with, again, it's the description of the code. It's the mass airflow sensor code. Let's put a mass airflow sensor in it. You got to be careful. The mass airflow sensor just tells the engine how much air is going into, or tells the computer how much air is entering the engine. You can set that code if you've got a vacuum leak.
They don't code very often, by the way.
Yeah, and unless they're dirty. I mean, it's just not very common. They can cause all kinds of symptoms and not have any codes. It's a popular thing with the transmission. So you definitely want to look at that, check for vacuum leaks on your codes. And I'm not surprised at all. Wheel speed sensor, the car has to know that the vehicle's moving in order for the analog brakes to work. So that's why the brake light's going to come on and the ABS light is going to come on. Could be a common problem. Could have two bad wheel speed sensors. I doubt they failed at the same time. Definitely need to get that one diagnosed.
We're going to be right back with Kurt, Dan, Dave, and we'll hit a couple texts. You're listening to Matt and Davey, our KTAR Car Guys, Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Having an accident is stressful. Dealing with the repair process shouldn't be. Hi, Leo Petrozella for Campus Body Salon. We've taken the stress out of collision repair since 1973, and here's a couple of tips to de-stress your repair. Make your own choice. Some insurance companies try to convince you that you must use their approved shop for your repair. Not true. Arizona state law allows you to choose the facility that's right for you. Beware of the cheapest estimate. Typically, it's the one from the insurance company cutting corners to trim costs or focusing on appearance only. At Campus Body Salon, appearance is important, but structural integrity and safety are even more critical. Campus Body Salon, independent, family-owned and operated, and bumper-to-bumper radio approved. Check out our Cash for Your Crash program where we pay you 10% off of your repair up to $1,000. Campus Body Salon, the best care in collision repair.
Ouch! Being out of tune is no fun, and maybe even a little painful. Hi, this is Lee Weatherby, owner of Accurate Automotive in Mesa. At Accurate, we are a family-owned and operated one-stop automotive repair shop that specializes in building long-term relationships that are in tune with your needs, not ours. We've been recognized nationally as one of the top shops in the country, but for over 20 years, our priority has stayed focused on providing quality automotive service and repair at a fair price. I invite you to come in and see the difference an in-tune relationship can make for you and your car. With our free courtesy inspection, a $49 value, we feel it is well worth our investment in you because we believe good long-term relationships start early with your first walk through our doors. Accurate Automotive, home of friends serving friends, just off Broadway and Robson in Mesa since 1992. For more information, check us out online at accurateautomotiveaz.com today.
Fix it or forget it. This is the show that'll help you decide what to do with your car. Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
All righty, 10 minutes to go. Welcome back to Bumper Radio. Matt Allen here. Dave Riccio by my side, helping you with your car. Dave, we've got some phone calls. We've got some text messages that have been coming in. And folks, just a quick reminder, Christmas next weekend, you're traveling for the holidays, maybe you're going skiing, just get the car and do a couple basic checks. Try not to do any big unnecessary repair just because you feel like it's time. Check the tires, check the fluid, make sure you got some good windshield wiper blades, just make sure you're safe. Just do a little due diligence before you hit the road.
And go to bumpertobumperradio.com to see our list of Christmas presents for the mechanic in your life. You need to take care of him.
Yes.
That guy's important. So I got a couple texts here, transmission related. Gentleman's got a 98 Cutlass with a V6 that doesn't have a dipstick. If I remember, that car does have a dipstick. Maybe it's painted black so you can't see it, but it should be there. It should be a 4T65 transmission. Can I service it myself? You can service it yourself if you're that kind of guy that wants to do that kind of work in your driveway. But it is very messy because you got to take all those screws out, and all the fluid comes out all at once.
Yeah, there's no drain plug. It just starts leaking everywhere. I hated doing transmission.
So anyway, but I think you can, but maybe just double check. Some of those, if it's got a 4T40 in it, that's a different model of transmission, doesn't have a dipstick. So there is a way to check it. You get it hot, and then you pull the plug, and you see what pours out of it. So you can find that probably online somewhere, I would imagine. Even YouTube probably has that. Mm-hmm. So anyway, but a bad transmission service is worse than no transmission service at all, so keep that in mind. So I can lay tile, but I certainly can't do it as good as a tile guy, so that's something I always keep in mind. Anyhow, I've got another one here. Gentleman hit text. He's got a vibration at idle when he puts it in gear, and he was quoted $1,700 for a transmission rebuild. Just sounds to me like maybe he needs some motor mounts or it's not idling well. I don't know.
Dave, when I hear $1,700 in transmission rebuild, the first thing that comes to my mind is if it's $1,700, it's not enough money and it's not a rebuild or something. There is no specification. There is no regulation that defines the word rebuild. So
there's a joke.
I'm just telling you, it's too cheap.
There's a joke in our shop. Some people paint it blue and call it new.
Yeah.
So there's some of that goes on. I'm not saying that's the situation here, but it doesn't sound right. So you might want to get a second opinion on that.
Well, there once was a transmission guy who did in town here, and he did a lot of business locally, but he did a lot of internet business. He'd just go to the junkyard, buy all the transmissions, take the fluid out, put a filter on them, clean them up a little bit, pressure wash them, and he was selling those on the internet as a rebuilt transmission, and then they'd make it out of the warranty period, and then, sorry, dude.
Yeah, and you might get lucky if you got one that worked. If it wasn't one that didn't work, they'd say, oh, you guys must have installed it wrong. So there's a lot of scam, and that's this transmission business. So for us, we got to go out of our way to be everything as transparent as possible so people can feel comfortable with the process, because we know we have that reputation of the transmission industry behind us. I've got another gentleman, 2008 Toyota Tacoma, 3 dealerships, 7 different shops. They all say not serviceable. I don't know. That's a lot of shops to tell you not serviceable. But, we service transmissions regularly on Toyota Tacomas. It's something we do on a regular basis.
And if you went to 3 dealers and 7 shops and they all told you it's not serviceable, I would argue that they're not all wrong, and maybe,
not serviceable in their mind. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, or maybe the way you're presenting what you're asking for is the way you talk to people at the counter. We're business and we want to take all the business, but we can politely tell you it's not serviceable because we just don't want to deal with you. I hate to say it like that, but I mean, right? I mean, if you're a let's reverse the roles. You're a restaurant. The guy comes in, is this food any good here? You know, the last restaurant I went to, that sucked, and they told me that was good, and it wasn't, and they always undercook it, and they always whatever. When can I get in here? You know, sir, we do not have any reservations for the next 3 weeks. We are booked out. Sorry. You know,
Right. No, there is an element of truth to what he's saying, and it is one of those things that you know, it's. If you come in and you're nice, you get a whole lot more. And if you're just waiting, if you're one of those people that's a reviewer and just waiting for somebody to make a mistake and waiting for them to pounce on it, you know, that's not nice.
Bye-bye.
You know, cars are hard to work on.
Yeah.
You know, and even we sit here and we talk about it like it's easy, but you know, sometimes Matt calls me and goes, I got this car and it's doing this, that, and the other. What do you think? And I go, I don't know. I haven't run into that before.
Yes.
And so we start getting on the phone to fix these issues. But if we have someone that's, you know, on top of us, you know, and you know, that's soul crushing.
All right,
anyway.
Kurt, Jan, and Dave, we're going fast. Dave, quickly. Dave in Gold Canyon, Lexus, what's up with your 430?
Hello.
Yep, we're here.
Well, it's 2004 Lexus LS 430, and I'm getting phantom low tire pressure signals on the dashboard. And there's a button underneath. I just reset it, and naturally I've gone to all 5 tires. Check the air pressure. They're all within a pound or two. There's no rhyme or reason to when this thing comes up, and I just don't know what direction to take to try to get a repair done. Do I go to a tire shop, or do I go to the dealer or a mechanic? Need a little bit of advice as far as trying to figure out where this issue has come from.
Any modern shop that has a tire machine or a tire shop, it's certainly not something you have to go back to the dealer for, but you got bad batteries in those old sensors. Cars.
The sensors are designed to last about 7 years, and they have batteries built into them. You can't replace them. You just, you know, you need to replace the sensors more likely.
We're going to sneak in Jan, 08 Chevy Colorado. Got to be quick because we're up against the clock here. Jan, go ahead. What's going on with your Colorado?
Okay, thank you. We have a theft deterrent, and it's factory, and we can't start the Colorado most of the time because it locks up, and so then you got to wait, and we want to take that out. So what do you think about taking that?
You cannot eliminate it. If it's a factory-controlled device that came on the car, it is not It is not removable. If it was the add-on from the dealership, you can remove that. What I would suggest, if you think you're having a problem with a factory original equipment theft deterrent device, use a different key for a little while. Your car came with 2 keys. You could have a defective key. Try using another key for a while. If you don't have one, you need to get out and get another one made when they can copy the security information and start using that key. And let's try and isolate it. After that, you got to get it fixed.
Well, we're glad you can join us. Thanks, Bree, for running the dials. If you're looking for a friendly, honest, competent shop, you can find them at bumpertobumperradio.com. You can also find your top 10 list for the top 10 gifts for the mechanic in your life for Christmas. You know, maybe some mechanic's gloves or floor jacks or something like that. Remember never to text or drive. And from all the shops at Bumper to Bumper Radio, have a great week.